Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah, this is, okay, if anybody wants just to review, this is, says FBI media war against Islam and Muslims, World Trade Center bombing set up for the Muslims. And then it has history repeats itself. It has a COINTEL program, 1968, and on the back it has a little change in vocabulary. It says, update on vocabulary. I just put this out here. It's not for any particular reason. But what we wanted to do was let people know basically that we've been dealing with this stuff a long time. This is mainly for Oakland. And Oakland, we got to really, what we're doing now, inshallah, we'll probably leave sometime this week headed for Oakland. And as you could tell, I've been in no hurry. I've been headed that way for a month. But really, we have our schedule for Oakland post-Ramadan that we're on the move, you know, and I'll talk about that in the next one after this, the Model Cities Project. What I have right here is from back in the 90s. In the 90s, there was a, I'll start with this one, Anti-Defamation League, Civil Rights Wrongs. This was the ADL. The ADL in about 93, they raided the offices of 2 San Francisco police officers. They both had FBI, CIA type clearances. And what they was doing was they had prepared a list of all of the, well, I'll just read what it says from the top. Files seized by San Francisco District Attorney's Office from residents of ADL informant Roy Bullock and San Francisco police officer Tom Girard, released in connection with second raid of ADL's San Francisco and LA offices. Categories such as Arab and Pinko are known as defined by Bullock and Girard themselves. I just brought the front page, but this Arab list organization, Arab organizations, ANC organizations, movements against apartheid, African National Conference, All African People's Revolutionary Party, everybody you can imagine is on that list. Okay, Palestine Democratic Youth Organization, family-sponsored project, everybody that the ADL thought that might have any sympathy for Palestine or any anti-Israeli stuff. And if you were to look right over here, you don't have to go down but a hot second, and you're going to find Masjid al-Islam right there. It's right there just in case you want to look for yourself. Masjid al-Islam is right there. I'm moving toward where we are right now because the crackpots there in Oakland, which is mainly Mukhtar and all of them, start making a lot of accusations. And we let those accusations go because we have a whole history in Oakland and a whole history in that area. Around the time when we formed As-Sabiqun 95, and then when you get up to 2005, that's a very serious and unique period for the As-Sabiqun movement. Okay, if you were to take around that period, this is just one flyer, Masjid al-Islam, Los Angeles. This is a place we was going to buy. We got another place. But this is a place we was going to buy. You know, property is very expensive. But Masjid al-Islam, LA. About that time, we would be in organizational structure, in people, and places around the country. I guess Imam Muhammad would be number 1. The Nation of Islam would have been number 2, and we would have been number 3. For revolutionaries, we would be number 1. Because we either had physical Masjid, like Los Angeles, San Diego, you know, all those places like that, Sacramento. But we also had distribution centers, Seattle, all those places, you know, Houston, Dallas, where people that were with us, and like we have duplicators that duplicate CDs and DVDs, in each place we had a team of people that their job was to take our CDs and DVDs and distribute them. Okay, it just so happens that we're the only place that really did that, because Oakland didn't do it that much. They did it enough just to make it look like it, but they didn't really do it. So our whole program is a developed program. It ain't nothing that happened that was new. If y'all can remember some of these old flyers, I mean, this is, remember in detail, tactics deployed against the movement. If anybody remember that, that was the same thing that happened this go-round. Basically it says, for the Yahoo, join the believers in the morning and leave them in the evening. That way some of the weaker people would be captivated and they would leave with you. This is basically. Okay, we had been through that, let's say, a good 5 times already when we wrote this. And we've had several more since then. So we are familiar with tactics deployed against the movement, how to think and believe after 9/11, 2002, stages of growth within the Islamic movement. In other words, what you can see from all of our articles, these were all 5, 10, 20, some of them 30 pages. And we all studied these in the Brotherhood class. Mission and movement, you could tell where our mindset was. Management in Islam, in other words, how we're going to get from where we are to where we want to go. That's going to take very skillful management. One of the main things it will take is unity. That's why no matter whether it's Dar al-Hijra, no matter whether it's Sterling out there, we do not fight Muslims and Negroes. Not because we're afraid of them. It's just like when the Negroes, when the people tried to start that trouble on the hill here, it happened many times, right on the hill, they were trying to get us in a fight with the Negroes in the community. We declined. But at the same time, when the police was jumping on the guy down right off 295, you know, right? We just jumped out of the car and grabbed the police, okay, because they police, and white police at that, beating a citizen, okay? So it can't be that we're afraid, but see, there's a difference in our approach is to stay focused on the enemy. That's the system. Never let people divert us, as we talked about in the khutbah, divert us away from who the real enemy is and get us fighting with low-level dumb Negroes, right? Or some other dumb Negroes. You see, because that's what they always want to do. Okay, call to organized struggle. In other words, each week or each month, we went through a series of studies, Revelation and Revolution. That's part one, so it must be part two. That means our revolution will be based on revelation, not colorism. But before we get to that, I want to give a little bit of background in how we got this far. And it wasn't long ago, we was out in California. No, it was a while back. It was when Geronimo Pratt had died in Tanzania. And he was with a friend of mine, Pete O'Neill. He had moved over there when he had got out of prison after 28, 29 years, something like that, 27, 28, 9 years. So I was just looking over some of the historical things. This is one of the memorial tributes from the Black Panther Party, and this brother is Setaway, Michael Tabor. He was a good friend of mine, because when I went to Algeria, out of all the brothers, elders, I didn't have too much. Pete O'Neill became my best friend. Sekou Dinga, we played basketball every morning, you know, and Setaway and I had serious conversations because he wrote a book right here, Capitalism Plus Dope Equals Genocide. Mm-hmm. That was his famous book at that time. Remember, my idea for the party, and it wasn't a new idea, was, look, in order to have a revolution, you need money. So since everybody's just sitting around cooling their heels, why don't we start an international drug trade? And that will get you all the money you need. Then we'll go back and take over America. I know it sounds a little strange, but that's the way Negroes thought, that we just in exile for a minute. We gonna get ourselves together like everybody else was doing. You gotta remember, we was in the company of all the expatriates from all over Africa. And everybody was in Algeria and they were in Tanzania. Those are frontline states. They would have to train and go back to their country and fight. And everybody did. So SWAPO, Southwest Africa's People Army, everybody was there. Frelimo was there from Angola. Everybody was there. This is East Africa. And a lot of them was in North Africa also. So our goal was to get enough money, get enough training, and go back and take over America. Well, when I went to Algeria, everybody knows, well, they say, I don't know if it's statute of limitation, but there's a rumor that I took a lot of money to the brothers in, in Algeria. And why would a Negro, that's supposedly a big dope dealer, right, go in Algeria anyway? Why the heck would you go running off to Algeria? Why don't you run off to Nice in France or somewhere in the islands, Jamaica, buy a villa, go to Belize somewhere, buy a villa for $10,000, it's worth $10 million here, and just live happily ever after. Just buy you some Belize ID, passport, born in Belize, you speak English, why not do something like that? Why would you go to why would you go to East Africa and go to Algeria? Well, I want to do this because, see, them crackpots in Oakland, they got a lot of explaining to do. And we want to show you how we engineered that and this and everything else we've been doing. Because, well, the next go round, they're not going to be that easy to manipulate, but we got them covered. It ain't no problem. Now, most people, what they know about me, when they think about me, they think of the Big Hank period. If I can find a few, where's some of that stuff at? Yeah, here it is right here. There are a lot of these people here. Abdul Malik, Mukhtar, Sister Bahia down there, all of them have got into a lot of rumors. One of the things Mukhtar said to me, Khadijah, I'm going to sue you because you sold my mother heroin because her mother died of OD. I said, you going to sue me for selling heroin? I said, you've been listening to the white man. Because I was not a heroin dealer. I was just not a heroin dealer. But in this setup, the police, this is a computation of time. Another thing them Negroes said, this is recently, you went to the prison and you didn't stay there but a few months. And I was just sitting there looking at my sentence computation. And then I got what it is, you write for what's called when you get your sentence, a modification of sentence. So just a little bit of it says, petitioner was charged with 4 counts pursuant to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Accordingly, petitioner was found guilty and subsequently sentenced in October 1973 to concurrent 5-year terms of imprisonment pursuant to violation of lead, blah, blah, blah. And I have also what's called special parole, regular parole, and special parole. So also, I was the last one sentenced under this sentencing because in 1971 it was still in effect, but right after I got my case, they repealed some of that and they changed the law. But since I run off and I was gone, when I came back and went to court, I went to court under the old stuff. That means if you got charged under that period, you had to do what was called mandatory release. I mean, you didn't get no parole hardly. So technically, I did my mandatory release. I mean, I did all the time when they gave me a 5-year sentence, except for the good time that you get, I did the whole sentence, okay? They were saying that I had it in good with the government, and that the government, I didn't do but 2 years after selling all of that dope. Well, one thing about this 2-year sentence, a 5-year sentence, is that the way it was set up, that was the most they could give me. Because, I don't know if y'all remember, I showed y'all all of those papers. Remember all those papers from the 70s, arrest records and all of that stuff? Okay, the witness list, okay. When I came back to prove that the government was involved in drugs, and the government did this, and the government did that. And I also said that the government searches out in our neighborhoods for potential leaders, and then they try to divert them. Okay, in 1966, I was a potential little leader in the neighborhood. I mean, all of us worked out every day. We weren't doing nothing wrong. We was just, and I was into that discipline because I had been in the Nation of Islam. I was still kind of affiliated with the nation. You know what I mean? Where no drinking, no smoking, no none of that. And they had never seen that in the black community. You don't eat no pork? No, I don't eat no pork. You got to remember, in those days, black people didn't buy oil, cooking oil, right? We had a grease can on the top of the thing, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And when you cooked your bacon or whatever, you poured that grease. Did y'all have one too? I'm sure you had to in those days.
We used to have it in a Maxwell House coffee can.
Right.
We had the coffee went out of it.
Right.
Clean that can out, and that's what's gonna hold that grease.
It had a little strainer to hold your grease. And so everything you cooked had pork in it. And if you had some nice cabbage, so what? You're gonna have to throw some pork in there, or they wouldn't have no taste.
Fat back for your greens?
Yeah, everything. So when I came home from the penitentiary, and not only did I didn't eat no pork, but I was a vegetarian too. You know, lacto-ovo vegetarian. I mean, where I drink milk and ate ice cream and eggs, stuff like that. And you can imagine in '65, the people looked at me like my friends looked at me from like I was from Mars. And all through all those years, if I went in there, they said, shoot, Hank, don't eat. Hank a vegetarian. Can you imagine in '65 a Negro vegetarian? Even, what's his name, wasn't no vegetarian yet. Dick Gregory. But anyway, I just brought this with me because it says, legal analysis aside, for the moment, petitioner is of the opinion that the ends of justice would not be served by his prolonged imprisonment. Furthermore, the congressional intent in enacting a comprehensive drug abuse prevention and control act, hereafter referred to as the act, would surely be defeated should petitioner be required to fulfill this unjust sentence. Since the court at the time of the sentencing did not express a desire to have petitioner serve what is in effect a 10-year sentence. See, if you have to do your mandatory release, you have to do all of your time. If you had a 10-year sentence, you could get parole, go up to parole board in 3 years, maybe do 3.5 years. But if you do all of a 5-year sentence, you do it more than, it'd be like getting a 10 or 15-year sentence. This is what, I'm just reading this to show that, look, the Negroes in Oakland and the Negroes here, Sister Bahia included, Philadelphia, Oakland, D.C. Since I never said nothing, they've been spreading the police rumors amongst all the people. Let's try to remember, Miller Yellow and them is out there. And so I have to let them, everybody know, so they won't have no excuse. See, they can do anything to us they want to. And since I don't say nothing, the government, it's like fines. I'll show some of them. Fines. Fines for here, fines for D.C., for Oakland, fines for everywhere we have property. And remember, during this period, we would be the 3rd largest organization because we got, let's say, 10 centers around the country. That's, these are the only 2 that we fully own. And the reason is because I knew who they was. I knew who everybody was at the time we're doing what we're doing, and we'll get into that a little bit later. What I want to say is right now, they were saying, well, the person that they always try to portray to the public is this one here, Big Hank. This is what they always try to present to the public. That person was real. Okay. They never I don't never tell them nothing about this person. You can see that's Black Panther uniform, straight up. You can even see the Huey Newton, free Huey Newton's buses. I'm in Oakland my own time. But we're getting ready to now make another move. At this time, on 73rd Avenue, there's a bowling alley across the street now that's a big church. Across the street was a pawn shop, Jerry's Pawn Shop. Next door to that was the Black Panther headquarters, and right in back of Jerry's Pawn Shop, in other words, we're neighbors, where I sold drugs, but marijuana and stuff like that. You know, not no heroin and all of that, because we knew heroin already was set out to kill black people. So I never sold no heroin, but we got somewhere where we got to go. The other thing is all the people of East Oakland knows what I'm going to say. But Sister Bahia and them, which is Abdul Malik's ex-wife, they both from Philadelphia. He's the Emir out there. Mukhtar, Khadijah, all of them come under the umbrella, right, of Abdul Malik. All of them, whether Philadelphia, whether D.C. You notice when all that 2014, a lot of fitna was happening in Oakland, and all of a sudden, what's his name that used to do all the filming, Ahmed, comes back here, and they all meeting down at my house. Remember that? They'll be, what are they doing meeting down there and talking about, and then Mukhtar sending messages, I'm coming out there to California, to D.C., right? And the big-headed woman that we had in the school, you got to remember the school, it was going for 10 years. Forget about that, how much heat it takes to keep it going downstairs. You see them big machines out there all day long during the cold winter. Let's say we subsidize the school about $4,000 per month. So in 10 years, just rounded off, it's over $400,000 in 10 years. That's with no job and no nothing, right? You gotta remember, I don't have it on it, but Mukhtar accuses me of being arrogant and stealing money. You know, nobody says nothing about, well, where did the Masjid come from in the first place in Oakland? Did we raise a whole lot of money to buy it, or did we hustle, right, to buy it? Even here, when we came here with books, and that was it. And in a few years, we up and rolling. We really up and rolling. And in less than 10 years, we had a masjid, and 10 or 12 years, we have property all over the place that we own, that we bought. Okay, but nobody can go and say, well, at this fundraiser we raised $2 million to buy all of that, $100,000 to buy that. It was day-to-day hustling. So we're here now today to clarify what was going on in Oakland. I made a corporate decision. Not that they was killing all. At this time, they done killed half of the brothers already. This is 68. They done already killed half of the brothers. Okay, now I turned super black because I'm the only one to get out of jail in 65. And all the Soledad brothers, two of them was friends of mine, George Jackson, Fleeta Drungo. Fleeta Drungo was my best friend. He was my workout partner. The brother that taught him all that stuff was W.L. Nolan. W.L. Nolan we've been friends since 57. He come from a fighting family, Cornell Nolan, W.L. Nolan. W.L. Nolan, Soledad, taught the Soledad brothers manhood training. That's why he was shot down on the yard in '68. So by '68, we got a picture of what we're going to be dealing with. All of that freedom free ain't going to happen. Okay, I had to make a decision. I'm coming out of a period of retirement. 66, making nice little money. 67, big money. 67, they put a little heat. And so I take a little breather. I retired for a while with 2 Cadillacs and $25,000, something like that. Now that don't sound like much money, but in those days that was a lot of money. And I just hustled a little bit, but we getting ready to make moves. We have 2 beautiful visions. One is of a black mafia that controls the black community, because we know the civil rights movement does not, they taking niggas to jail for trying to buy guns. A couple of years later, they killed Angela Davis, set up Jonathan Jackson them, just because they couldn't, the Black Panthers couldn't get pieces, couldn't get weapons, and everybody could get tons of people. So, I'm just telling you what our idea was. Number one, we need, now can you imagine that we're young, gifted, and black, as Nina Simone said. But 22, 23 years old, this is the first time young niggas ever had any real money. Before, in the old game, you didn't start pimping till you was real old, and you didn't make big money. We are into big money already. Now, watching TV, the white folks got a mafia. So if white folks got one, we should have one too. What should be the purpose of this so-called black mafia? To control the crime in the black neighborhood and to support the liberation struggle. If you control the crime in the neighborhood, you can also recycle the money into your neighborhood, right? And you can also support anything you want to do, and they can't stop it because you got constant money. This was our goal nationwide. Okay, could I do that to run around with free Huey Newton buttons on? Absolutely not. They done already let you know we shooting all niggas. They were. I mean, you just get shot down. They just come to your office and start opening up. Another thing these Negroes said was, you are a mean guy and you are a big pimp and all that. That's the stupidest things. These are some of my friends. See, I had a lot of girlfriends. I had one wife, but these are like my friends. I just, Negro girl, you could pass it around. These just Negroes, my friends. We went to school, we live in the neighborhood. All the big crime and pimping took place on the other side of town. All of my friends, none of them, never turned to prostitution. Why? Because the black woman was the queen of civilization, according to the teaching, if y'all remember, right? So it would be insane to put the queen of civilization out on the street. My friends, I got tons, I just happen to have one. I got a lot of friends. Here's what we would do. All of my friends, remember in those days, all the famous people were in your neighborhood. We didn't have famous people outside. They were all, so they had what they call the in crowd. The people who were famous. So these are just our normal girls and all their kids. Just normal, our neighborhood girls.
Yeah, Cadillac in the background.
Yeah, that's Val back there with that.
67?
67 is what it is. Okay. Now, Beverly and them, Sharon and them, and all, like I said, all the girls had kids running around. on the weekend, during the weeknights, we went to all the big clubs and all the gangsters and everybody during the week. The working people, which these were all working girls, they worked in offices, you know, like everybody had a job. So on the weekend, whoever is in town, I would load up the car and take all my friends out. I just, you know, I'd take them. And so all the niggas, the pimps was, hey man, y'all be pimping them bitches, da 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 da. So man, you niggas stay away from these is my friends. And I would tell them, you can talk to them niggas, but that's it. You can't be, you know what I mean? In other words, these were squares, like, you know, like normal girls. They wasn't slick or nothing like that. And they wanted to pimp everybody else and all. They used to have a nickname. They used to call me Ho Hog and Hank. I was hogging all the hoes. All the potential hoes was all the girls in East Oakland was off limits to them niggas, and they didn't like it. They was friends of mine. You niggas can't. I don't want y'all out here messing with these friends of mine. Niggas, I can't pimp them bitches. Man, come on, man. If I catch you, remember I'm the big gangster. I nigga. I told you. If I catch you out here messing with these sisters, these is friends of mine. How a nigga gonna have bitches as friends? I said, I got them as friends. If you don't like it, what you gonna do about it? I mean, and they would come to my house, they be mad. I said, have a little blow. I ain't blowing with you, nigga. You got all that money looking, because I had rough hand. Look at this nigga counting all that money. You gonna sand them numbers off that money, nigga. I said, still, I better not catch y'all out here messing around. You can take them out to have a good time. You can take them to the show or a nightclub. But as far as it's going with y'all, I said, if you want to slip around and have a little girlfriend, because a lot of pimps had girlfriends too. You know, I say, you're a hypocrite. Nigga, you a hypocrite. You got a girlfriend coming by because they bring them by my house if they got a girlfriend. Yeah, man, this so-and-so. I say, you ain't pimping her? No, I'm trying to set it up. I say, you ain't setting up nothing. That's a cutie pie. I say, you like that girl, nigga. Don't you like, just don't mention it to nobody. That's all right. So here's the point. These Negroes in Oakland, this is serious planning. We got to get somewhere, and they killing so many brothers that you can't get nothing structured. Huey's in jail right there, and he's gonna be there for another 2 years. Shoot, they got Bobby Seale running around. And pretty soon they got him in jail, gagged and bound.
Courtroom.
And everybody else, this is really a serious period. So, just like now we're going into a new period, right here we're going into a new period. But what we gonna do? How we gonna get that? We're gonna get that just the way the white man wants us to be. He wants us to be a show-flowing, spoke nigga. That's what we did. And it worked like a charm. Until after a while, they said, wait a minute. The economy of this neighborhood is coming up, it ain't going down. And them niggas is I had 4 or 5 legal businesses. This ain't working the way it's supposed to work, and by the way, we don't want nobody to respect nobody black, and this nigga is the mayor of East Oakland, that's what they called me. And they was counting I wasn't even counting how many people worked, and we employed more people in the city. And everybody, it was good for the economy. Remember, we wasn't selling no heroin or nothing like that. Later on, we was selling cocaine, but cocaine is not addictive like heroin, especially in those days. You had to be rich, and the only people who had the money to snort cocaine was the pimps anyway, so we took all their money and, you know, and we helped the movement. When the government figured it out, they said, that's it, nigga. Sit for your, excuse my expression, just the way they put it, sit for your black ass, brother. Yeah, it's all over for you, homeboy. You ain't gonna be, if you just buy cars and ride around the street looking like a fool, that's okay. But supporting a movement, we're not gonna have that. Because remember, everything is arrest and arrest, to keep you going to jail, to keep you going to court, to keep you going, if you don't have, all the movements are like, that's one of the main things. Just like if they want to keep you going to court, they just keep giving you cases. It don't make no difference whether you meet them or not. You got to bail out, you got to spend your money, you can't focus. So we had a few years run. And by the time they looked up, we was in pocket. That's why when they set all this stuff up about heroin and all that, they all set that up. How is the most well-known nigga in California gonna come strolling through the airport from Mexico with heroin in his pocket? That's what my case says, that I came from vacation in Mexico, and I had cocaine, heroin, and all of that. Well, no. The reason I got this other beef, assault on a federal officer, when they took me in the room and they pulled out the dope and they ready to put it on me, I just broke out of there. And you know, when you're young and you're in good shape and they have those cubicles, man, one of them white officers stepped out in front of me while I was on the roll. It was just like football. The assault was not I hit the white man. The assault was he stepped out of his cubicle when I'm trying to run away from this other white man and say, oh, we done caught you with all of this heroin. What? Bam! I said, oh, no, homeboy.
Like he got hit by a train.
Hey, man. And then there was some big doors there. I run to the big doors in custom. Shoot, I looked at them doors, pulled back, you know, when you juiced up, bam, I hit them doors and they just flew open. Of course, they had everybody waiting on the other side. They tackled you and everything. But what I'm trying to tell you is, why would I go to Algeria? Why would Pete O'Neill, the head of the party, Brother Musa, enjoy the tapes? That was a while ago. You see, they still look kind of young, man. That's very much. Please send more by my mother. If his mother was alive then, that's over 20 years ago, because they the same age, they're a little older than I am. So his mother would have to be 100 now. Talk about sending by his mother. So anyway, your homeboy from the days of struggle. What I want to explain to the people about our idea about struggle, not only these people became friends, set away, dope plus capitalism equal genocide. When he's first talking with me, he didn't convince me or nothing. I said, man, how we gonna fund the revolution? So I left Algeria. I presented the proposal, and the people are still alive now. Sekou is just got out of the penitentiary. He's alive. Pete's alive. There's a few more of the people that are still alive. Yes.
How do you spell his last name? Setaway.
Setaway. Tabor. Michael Tabor is his name. T-A-B, is that O-R or O-R? Michael Tabor.
T-A-B-O-R.
Setaway is the name of a Zulu warrior back in the old days.
Yeah, Michael, first name is Michael.
His real name is Mike, his white folks' name is Michael Tabor. But all of the people from those days, women in the party, where are they now? This is Pete and Charlotte. The other picture I showed you is Pete and Charlotte are the last ones that have a functional organization from the Panther Party in exile. Okay, so that's them right now. That shows you how old they are. They are senior citizens. Okay, this is D.C. Donald Cox. All of us was in exile together. Some of the people went crazy and quit and turned snitches, like Eldridge Cleaver. Okay, that's Pete and Charlotte, long time ago. That's when we was there. That's Pete and Charlotte. Yeah. Yeah, a long time ago. He was head of the party in Kansas City. Did you see that film, The Panther in Africa?
I didn't see that.
Did you hear about it? No, it was a big, it was on public broadcast.
It was on Netflix.
It's on
I don't
Netflix?
have Netflix.
Okay. I'll speed up. Here's the point that I was making. I'm going back to Oakland. The people in Oakland are going to have to get their act together. Because see, the police could do anything they want to me. And a lot of the old timers are gone. But there's enough people there to verify everything that we talk about. We allowed them to make their little Imam Musa, the reason I can talk to the police so bad because I'm one of them, and all of that. And let's see, counterterrorism blog. Steve Emerson investigate project catches radical Islamic cleric on tape supporting terrorism. This is, of course, they talking about me. You know, and this is the whole thing on Sean Hannity. So Steve Emerson, Sean Hannity, Steve Emerson's investigative project is one of the main ones that is behind a lot of the fitna. Okay, and the other one, now, if y'all remember, for a while I was on RT all the time. Okay, all of a sudden, CIA funnels drugs into poor U.S. neighborhoods. This is a program when myself and Freeway Rick is on there. He's in the penitentiary and I'm in the office down there. But Freeway Rick can only tell what he's come in contact with through the lawyers and da-da-da-da. But he was not a revolutionary, so he understand that, okay, Iran-Contra was sending money to sending dope to the black community, and everybody knew it. And one of the main spots was through Mena, Arkansas. You know, Bill Clinton was governor then, and they sent CIA planes flow right in, and they just unloaded them, and they sent it to not just LA, but a lot of it to LA, and then they send the money back to the Contras. They could buy arms, mix it up, guns and arms. Okay. So Freeway Rick could only tell that he knows he's been abused. Right. That, hey man, yeah, y'all gave me all that dope and it blends on. The CIA operative, you just let him go. He don't do no time or nothing. Okay.
But they blowing him up. Or they were blowing him up.
Who
Freeway Rick.
Yeah.
I mean, make it, you know, just making him real popular among, you know, certain crowds, whether it's...
Okay. But see, remember, since he's not a revolutionary, they would blow him up because he don't know what to tell the people to do. Okay? So when we on there, all of a sudden, they start taking me off. Because right here says, Abdul Ali Musa was a major drug dealer in Oakland, California, where the Revolutionary Black Panther parties had its headquarters. You got to remember, everybody's making the links. So the government wanted to stop the black movement in its track. Technically, they used us, drug dealers. It gave us high-quality heroin and cocaine to pop into our own neighborhood, and then we sold to our own people to break the back of the revolution. But I didn't do that to break the back of the revolution, but all the other niggas did. Remember, I sold cocaine, marijuana, and all that. But they turned Oakland from you can't buy heroin there, you have to go to San Francisco to buy it, to the distributor on the West Coast. Okay, drug ravaged Oakland's poor community, just like Ricky Ross' drug empire ruined parts of LA. Well, we go on, it talks about Iran, Contra, and all that. Okay. What this shows me is how much influence the CIA has in Russian television. See, Russian TV is probably the best TV in the US. And if they interfere with only the Negro aspect that might popularize, so they popularize Free Ray Rick, but they don't popularize anybody that know how it started, why it started, all of that. He just know I was abused and I sold drugs. But he don't have any solution. So why they keep pushing him and slap on us? The same way when the last time they invited me down there, or the time before last, it was about when they stopped them imams, 6 guys on the plane. One of them was our brother from New York, Al-Amin. So they asked me about it. I said, shoot, Al-Amin them? I said, Al-Amin works for the government. I said, well, Al-Amin has a gold badge. You know, he's the imam for the, I say, years ago he got paid $36,000. That was a lot of money 30 years ago. In fact, it was 30 years ago. I said, he's a paid imam. I say, so for them to, when they patted him down, all he had to do was show his badge. I'm one of y'all, so they stopped having me on there. What it was, no, here's the thing. If you know how this is going, you're not going to have too much. Although Russian TV is the best TV in America, probably for news. It reminds me of when the Soviet Union crumbled. They had 300 extra agents in America. Do you know where they put them? On black gangs, if anybody remember that. About 90, 91. Put them on black gangs. Why? How could you digress from the evil empire, the Soviet Union, to Negroes? Gangs. Because they control the gangs. They control the gangs, they control the rebellion. Because it's the only organized thing. So they shift the gangs, like they did in my time, from rebellion to drugs. And when any of them get big, we do them like they do all the rest of them. You hear about the Crips and the Bloods and all. Hell, the Crips and the Bloods live next door to each other. So how you gonna have a gang that's like a civil war? You know, they tried to get me to kill people that our kids went to school together. We went to school together. I know his grandmama that we picked fruit off her tree. You can't have fights with people like that. You know everything about them, and they know everything about you. They can hurt you, right? That's why we don't fight no niggas. That's why I'm letting the people know on this camera. Those clowns talking about money, hey, I got paperwork here that shows every bit, every fine that happened in Oakland, here, Philadelphia. I paid those fines. And if I leave Oakland to come here, they done screw something, so I have to pay a fine out there. I got all the fines right here. If I left here and go out there, here comes another paperwork. Oh, you gotta pay such and such. Here's this food. I put the thing up there. Bank of America. I paid one of the. That's one of the fines that I had to pay. 24,000. The other one was 22,000. So I put it on the bulletin. Here's what this nigga says. Brother Musa misuses of Masjid funds. Well, guess what? I have, now my house out there, you know, my family house, it had my family messed around, it had $22,000 taxes. Actually, it must have been 32 or 30,000, because I paid one, and then they said, oh, you forgot 2013. Well, that house is Section 8 house. So all the money that comes from that house, I even get a W-2 form. In those days, it was $15,000 a year. All that money goes into the fund to help, you know, myself. It helps pay for everything. So I never have separated what I own from the masjid. Everything we buy goes in Masjid al-Islam. But everything I make on books, I don't care what it is. If I go somewhere, I make a speech that says, we just like, you've been a good brother for a while, here's 20, 30 grand. I don't put that in Imam Musa's account. That goes, everything I do is related to, so he's saying, oh, you took $22,000 out of Masjid. Plus the nigga, how does he know what happened in my accounts anyway, unless he's the one which he broke in. I don't want to read all that. They broke into the house, they broke in everywhere, they stole all the paperwork, and they stole, so he would talk to me as though he didn't read all of my notes and everything, because all our paperwork, he didn't read all of it. They didn't even stole Tafsir of Quran. It's got to be them, because nobody else would run off with a set of this Tafsir of Quran, set of that top, unless they just trying to be funny. Well, that's what he was doing, trying to tell me, yeah, we broke in, because look what, he telling you information he couldn't have, unless they got your paperwork out of my house, but it's an office, you know, a little house in the back. The point I'm making, since then, I done probably put $50,000, $60,000 in the masjid account for that property, he says, and he told people that, and they put it on the video. Imam Musa misuses masjid funds. I said, first of all, if that account had $100,000 in there, how much did you put in there, homeboy? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So that's a DC account. I said, we just had a lecture in DC. It was called 10% Rule or something. Anybody remember that one? Mm-hmm. Did we say we got to get $1 million? And I gave you a lecture. I said, we got 100,000 in here now. So here's the idea. Once you have, if you say, I'd like to have $1 million, that's just a dream. It's a dream. Or you want to go somewhere, but once you take one step, if it takes 10 steps to get there, And you take one step, it ain't no dream no more. If you trying to get to $1 million and you get to $100,000, now you know when you have a meeting, you ain't just talking, right? You're 10, and what I was saying was once you get 10% of the money, this is the way I feel. You all the way there, because all you got to do is keep on moving and you'll get there. And the first 100,000 is like the first million. That's the hard one to get. First million is hard. The second million is easier. And after you get $20 million, you get $1 million every month, every 2 weeks, something like that. That's the way money does it. The first part is the hardest. But after it starts to grow, after you plant that fruit tree, man, shoot.
It's like working out.
Start working out.
The first time you work out, it's hard.
It's hard.
But then once you get to rolling,
Yeah.
it gets easier and easier.
And habit forming. You have to now moderate your workout. So I don't want to be in that good a shape. I just want to be, and you moderate, right? The same with money. Anyway, I'll try to wrap this up. The point I want to make with all of this stuff today and going to Oakland is that we have a reputation in Oakland. We have a history in Oakland. And now we're going to tell our side, which most of the people in Oakland already know. But see, between Mukhtar, Abdul Malik, Mellow Yellow and them that they sent out there, you got to remember, the Muslim community is immigrant Negroes. Yeah, they send them niggas from out of town. It ain't no Abdul Malik is from Philadelphia. All the other people on the Brotherhood list that we had out there, they came from Germany. Oh, we're part of the Muslim military members. I said, well, good for you. You know they the police. What I'm trying to say, if we knew the police pattern from back in the 60s, and we fooled them, if we came here to D.C., we already know what they're going to load it on us when we get here. We already know. Okay? So now we have engineered, we didn't have to, but it would be easier to educate people if they could see with their own eyes what happened. Because I've been knowing it ever since, I don't know, when I talk about going to South America, I said the police meet me, and I allowed them to send me on down the way. And I did stuff on the side. I didn't start then. Hell, I've been doing that all the time. I've been doing it. It's just the pattern I have. You can't walk straight up to the white man and say, well, Mr. White Man, what we're going to do, we're going to follow the rules, your rules. And your rules say carry signs and jump up and down and get your freedom. Or, you know, we don't do that. We've never done that. At each stage of the game, we have done according to strategic planning. This is what bothers people, and it makes the white man mad. They don't like where blacks have strategic management in their brains wired, and it works, and you use it. That you acquire knowledge in everything that you do. Everywhere you go is a study session. It's not, you're not going anywhere just to be going. When you go there, who's there? What do they do? How long they been doing it? How do they do it? Everything. It's automatic. You don't be taking notes. You just know. Because you learn. Because you're going to need that knowledge.
Everything is a lesson.
Everything is a lesson. In the next CD, we'll move to a close of this. We want to talk simply about what we want to do in Oakland. Oakland is the center. For what Oakland was then, it paid a heavy cost. But we're not cartoon characters. We say you didn't kill that home. What it really means to me, I'm just telling you the way I feel. You done killed all the homeboys, you done did this. Well, I'm the only one left, and I'm gonna stick my foot in your ass. Cracker, you ain't got but one choice. You can kill me or go and get your butt whooped. And guess what? We be whooping him. You gotta remember, we ain't lost nothing. You gotta look at everybody. You know what the people, I'm trying to tell the people in Oakland, they look at me like, oh, the white man did this, them niggas did that. So sure, that would have been very, very terrible 50 years ago or 40 years ago. But we ain't there no more. You know what I mean? They attack the skin. You know where a snake grows and he sheds his skin? They always attack the skin. Yeah, we shared that. When we went to, I'm telling you, Brother Tufel and I talked about it, the way things are. And I said, man, they attacking where they thought a nigga was. I said, nigga ain't there. This is the way it is. Mukhtar calls it arrogance. He said, he put out a flyer. Imam Musa is arrogance, not arrogance. I don't know where he learned to read and write and spell. But he got some little thing, and he was saying, I was arrogant. I said, no, I'm not arrogant. I'm confident. So I'm not scared of the white man, and I'm not talking to you and the brothers. I'm talking to him. They mad because we talk to the white man the way we go. Oh, you want to get a man? Don't worry about it. Talk about his wife or something, big old fat slob. She don't get mad. But if you say the white man is, oh, you dirty nigga, I want to kill you.
Because you talk about their master.
Huh?
Because you talk about their master.
Yeah, good God Almighty, talking about master this, master that.
That's like talking bad about Master Chin.
But here's the point, believers, and I'll wrap it up with this. We want to, in fact, this is another picture. Almost there. Can you type something up in your computer? Johnny Bethia. Johnny Bethia.
B-E-T-H-E-A.
Sorry, I forget how to spell it. This is Johnny Bethia right here. You'll be able to see the same picture. You can see everybody got that Panther affiliation. This is my brother. This is people. Johnny Bethia became our Black Panther Party, Sacramento, shotgun, killed in Oakland in about 60, 70, 80 something like that. Anyway, the point is that we switched from that Black Panther look to, this is when I get one of the big cars, it wasn't all fooling. We was enjoying them big old rides. But that wasn't the main focus. The main focus was to win the rebellion. One of the truthful things is, to win a rebellion, you gotta be lucky. You gotta be, and you gotta be smart. You can't have a lot of weaknesses, you know. That's the thing that helped me with the Nation of Islam. All these girls was my friends. I had never went to bed with none of those girls. These were my friends, you know. And everybody wanted me to pimp them, but, you know, the kind of friends they was, I could take a kilo of cocaine and leave it in the house, or $20,000, each one of them, any of them, right? And the money would be there. The girl with the worst reputation, I want everybody to hear this, Cheryl Frey Rogers, I want y'all to hear this. She died in somewhere in the 80s or early 90s with the worst reputation in Oakland. She died of AIDS. She was considered the worst person that ever lived, except she was my best friend from day one. And when we was friends, she never did nothing wrong in her life. nothing illegal, nothing bad. She just got hooked on that pipe later on, and that changed it. What I'm saying is, I could leave a pound of blow in her house, and I come back, said the package look open. Oh, I felt depressed. They just started 2 grams. 2 grams is 454 grams in it. 2 grams. Oh, it's $20,000. I said, this is all there. Well, Daryl needed some diapers, and I said, hell, Daryl is 5, 6, 7 years old. He don't need no damn diapers. So she only spent $200 out of $20. I gave her $2,000, $3,000 just for keeping the money.
What you were talking about?
All of my girlfriends I had, if that's the only thing that I wish that I would have did for them was more. More. They deserved, hey man, a dope dealer is, the main thing he want to do is hide his dope, right? In a safe spot. I could set it in their kitchen and this stuff, just set it in there. And never, none, like I say, Cheryl, which is my friend, she might snort 2 grams out of 400, and of course I'd have gave her a whole ounce, or 2 ounces just for keeping it there, if she wanted it, I'm trying to tell you, see, a lot of these broken-hearted Negroes, like Abdul Malik, they broken-hearted Negroes, and Mukhtar Henpeck. I never had those problems with girls. I was married, and that's fine with me. And everybody else is my friend, so there's no complications, you know what I mean? It ain't no complications. They might like you a little bit, and you might cut your eye every now and then. That girl is kind of fine. But they're your friends. I mean, and they might be wanting to do something. But I'm saying, Islam, even that crooked, not the crooked stuff, but that stuff, it puts some discipline, it has some discipline there. And that was the main problem of the Negroes, the Panthers and everything, was no discipline. In Algeria, they was going down to the Rue de Douche Mourad buying hashish every day. I told them, you can't have no, I said, I'm a dope dealer, you can't have no revolution doing that. Okay? Those bad colored habits destroyed everything. In Algeria, the colored habits, when they talked about the Arabs kicking out the Negroes, is because, in Algeria, a lot of women, about half of the women wore niqab, full dress, in modern times. And the ones that wore mini dresses like they do in Paris didn't make no difference. They had the same moral standard. Like, you can't go like a girl in mini dress in our neighborhood, hey, God, what's going on? You couldn't do that there. If you was walking down the street with an Algerian girl, like one did one time, they'd spit on her. As soon as you walk, and you say, why are they spitting on you? Okay, you can't do that. Islam, let's go around. This is why when we incorporate Islam into our life, this is the core of the message. All the white man's tricks fall apart. You know why? Because he uses, or Shaitan uses him, they cooperate together. And the Quran and the Hadith help you with a habit, that your normal habit is halal and haram. The Muslim movement here in DC, anywhere else, anytime they want to mess up a masjid, they just send 2 or 3 cutie pies in. The main argument with the Imam, you can't have all the sisters, you got 3 wives now. Why don't you share or something? Isn't that the truth way the niggas would be in the masjid? Practicing martial arts and trying to catch a girlfriend. That's the main thing they did. They prayed every now and then, I'm sure. Sometimes. Right? Islam helps you, cleanses us. This is what we need for the movement this go round. Just like that was a transition stage from that Black Panther look to the super Negro, super fly look, back to Islam. It gave the movement the opportunity. Our movements never get the opportunity to learn. That's why that stages of growth in the Islamic movement is super important. You couldn't find Johnny Bethia?
Yeah, just one, a reference in a book called The Shadows of the Panthers.
Okay, he's mentioned in there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that Johnny Bethia is my friend. I'm trying to tell you, he was the head of our security. I'm just what I'm trying to show you is that this is Johnny Gunn right here. Everybody here is a semi or ex-Panther, everybody. So all we did was change clothes. That's what we did, change clothes. They couldn't, after a few months, you couldn't be walking around looking like that. All that old black on, hair sticking up in there. The niggas had to get their hair curled. You gotta get your hair. You can't go around looking like a revolutionary unless you, nigga, do you want to get killed? I'm trying to tell you. We knew what we was doing then, and everything that they do now is just is a reenactment. This is the last thing I will say. As far as that tough white man, we've taken him way past where he was prepared to go. This last time, he's so discombobulated and so stupid. Hey man, Mukhtar and them coming to the masjid with guns at Juma time. Mukhtar bringing the police to the masjid, holding their hand, 12 cars outside at 12 o'clock at night to arrest me for trespassing on a property with my name on the lease. I mean on the deed for slave name for Masjid al-Islam and all the other property, right? For them to, this fool come in the masjid hollering and talking about I did this, that, and the other, and then put it on the video. I never saw it, but they told me that the Negro put it on the video. They put the first 3 episodes when they come in the masjid hollering. First of all, the etiquettes of ikhtilaf. If somebody, just like when we have a meeting here, we always say, anybody got anything to say about it? Okay. If he had something to say to me, you can't walk in, we're having a program, and you walk in with a camera, plop the camera down and start hollering.
It's contrary to Islamic etiquette.
Islamic etiquette out of the window. And then they put it on TV. The idiots put it on TV. Why would we interfere with them? Look, this last go round, if we wanted 10 out of it, they gave us 67. All we wanted was for the people to see what they were up to and to see that we wasn't imagining things. Because see, one of the things about paranoia and insensitivity, if you know something, that's one thing. But if don't nobody else know it, they can add it up. Oh man, Brother Musa, you're getting a little sensitive there. What they mean is paranoid. everybody's the police. Right? And if everybody in the masjid, I got the brotherhood list, is from out of town, and they are the police, they all saying that he's, like Mukhtar said, that I was slandering niggas. The niggas get me $100,000 worth of fines per year, and I'm not supposed to be suspicious about that. And I pay him. We just wanted really. Mukhtar got everything changed to his name. He said, Mashallah Islam, Mukhtar Ali Mujahid. They got him and they sent the thing. But the thing says, you got to pay taxes before July something or other, or we're going to confiscate, notice of impending tax collection, power to sell. This is forget about the other one for $50,000. This is another one. So we go pay that. So I'm not supposed to be suspicious that I don't have nothing to do with this, but here we got, and if I would send him to an office, downtown, I said, go check on that. He said, you can't check on it. You can't, I said, there's nothing that you can have. If the city writes something out, you can check on it. You know what I mean? And then, no, so I just pay the tax bill, that's all. Okay. Shoot, man, I got so many. Oh, this is DC. 591. You remember how bad it was over there on 8th Street? We fixed it up, but we also have to pay $526 tax. Not tax, a fine. So the niggas leave, mess it up, cause $20,000 in damage. Tell the truth. Have you ever been in a place that nasty?
Well, as a firefighter, yes. As a firefighter.
You have been in a place that nasty,
yeah.
But how does that rank? Is that near the top?
That was a total house. It's been rooms, but that was the total.
The whole house. Oh, you've been in a place where there's a room.
Yeah.
That was like that.
That was like that.
But that's the first time you've been in a whole house like that. I tell you. Now, I know you're in good health, but you did get sick in there, right?
Yeah, I did.
The only reason I didn't get sick because I just go in there and do a little work and come out and get a little fresh air. Because I felt the oppression. Pots of urine, you don't believe it. Them niggas. And then there was a little boy in there, maybe about 2-3 years old. That boy, you could put him in a fiery furnace, it wouldn't hurt him. That boy, germs, bacteria, that boy got immunity to everything. If he could live there.
Allah protected him.
I didn't see him.
No, well, they had a little boy. But anyway, urine, pots of urine. That ain't all in it.
You know those plastic Hawaiian jugs?
That's ground for tuberculosis as well.
Hey man, you could have got, I'm telling you, we know our brothers, one of our, if not our healthiest brothers, but he damn near died, excuse my language, in there, cleaning up.
And don't forget the very brother that did all that was a part of it, comes to Juma all the time like it never happened.
Like nothing ever happened. That's the same way, that's the point I wanted to make. Whether it's here, whether it's Philadelphia, it don't make no difference. They just do anything they want, and then they look at me like I'm some type of criminal because I come and clean it up, and who are you? You're the problem. You're the problem. That's what they were saying in Oakland. Mukhtar was saying, and Abdul Malik was saying. They trying to blame me for everything because, see, if they talking to they people, so what we had to do was show to the public. So to the people of Oakland, thanks to Allah, they showed us the whole picture there in Oakland and everything. No, they.
I'm saying subhanAllah because now Allah has manifested who are your enemies and who are the enemies to Him.
Yeah.
And what He has in store for them, which He has made them blind to, it's frightening.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah, for them, okay.
It's frightening.
See, I will close with this. If I was going to go into a fight with guys or play a football game with them and we had I would watch their old films automatically to see how they play, see what they do, Okay. So, these Negroes come right out of college and, okay, yeah, I can see this some of the pictures. They choose the heavyweight champion of the world to fight on the first go-round. These college kids, they're gonna bring what the white man tell them, and they can only understand that low-level game. And we're living in the 21st century, and they living back in the 40s. Basically, they're like in elementary school. I mean, early elementary school, like first and second grade.
How about kindergarten?
Kindergarten. Okay, and everything for them is an act, and they looking at boss. If boss man makes you, sends you around the area, and you become a famous speaker, you know, like all the speakers, how they put them on, but those people are not actors in the movement. They're talking about it. They're pretenders.
Puppets.
Puppets. They're not the same like they say, you look like Siraj Wahad. Siraj look like you. I said, we're not the same. I said, I'm not arrogant or nothing, but I ain't like that. I'm not going to go into court. I'm going to Sheikh Abdul Rahman and say, the DA asked me, well, did he give a fatwa that you could rob banks? You know. And he says, yes, he did. He said that he gave a fatwa that. And then you know what he said, him and that mushmouth Imam up there?
Magic.
Huh?
Is it Magic?
No, Rashid.
No.
Oh, yeah.
That's him, that's him. That mushmouth Negro said, defending it, he swore oath on the Quran. I said, you can swear, I'd have had to bring a Bible to me, because if I'm in the white man's court, I ain't come there to tell no truth. How you gonna let him, he's a professional liar, everything he's saying is a lie, and he want you, well, I had to tell the truth and say, you had this, that's snitching, nigga, that ain't no telling the truth. You don't have a man, a blind man, they putting him on trial for terrorism. How you gonna how can a blind man terrorize, he can't even see how to get nowhere. And y'all put him in jail talking about, yes, he gave a fatwa. I said, I don't care what he said. You can't tell on him. But anyway, brothers and sisters, we'll close this session. We thank Allah. Allah helped us in Oakland, and Allah has helped us here. We'll stop here and we'll go for the next one in just a minute, inshallah. Thank you very much.